Hi, I'm Derek, and like most contractors, you've probably never had any formal, business management type training and know the different business systems that are involved. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 different functional areas of systems and how to start implementing that in your business so that you can enjoy more free time, more profits, and less headaches. So before we dive in, just make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Much appreciated. The YouTube AI, got to keep it happy, keep these videos flowing. So make sure to do that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. There's also links in the description. So if you need some resources, there's a lot of great material in there as well. So diving into it, there's going to be 3 different areas I'm going to be sharing with you. The first one is employees. So your employee systems. This is going to be comprised of a few different things. A big one is communication. Communication is so pivotal and key throughout an organization. I don't know how many times you've probably, gotten a call or showed up on site or whatever, and something was not done properly, or there was, mistakes made, whatever it may be. Generally, it boils down to improper communication. Employees are your, guys, boots on the ground, the guys that are, in the thick of it, getting things done, and communicating with them properly has a ton of different benefits. Different ways to communicate with them is specifically as far as the system goes. When you're onboarding them, you need to have a communication to them about how you expect them to communicate with you when, problems come up, when something good happens, what they need from you, what they need on site. So what are the communication channels? What do you use? Do you have a project management software they communicate through? Is texting okay, or emails, or do you want them to call you? Are you using a program like WhatsApp or Slack or some of these other ones? So lay that out for them. What does that look like? Usually, you hire a new guy, give him a hammer and let him go hammer some things together, right? And let him figure it out. And there's never any talk about like, hey, you need to tell me stuff, right? Or this is how I'm going to communicate with you. So there should be some sort of kind of a standards of communication to keep communication proper in your business. The second part of this employee systems is training, right? Again, training in construction is generally on the job, and there's not much more than, hey, do a job, the menial jobs until you can kind of do it well, and when we need you to do something better or something else, we'll throw you into it, right? Not really an effective way, first off, for you, because they're learning the hard way. They're probably not going to be effective, and you're not investing in them at all. So you can't expect a great return from employees when you're not providing a training system. So training systems don't have to be something crazy. Generally, I suggest having some standard operating procedures and just a couple of steps, right? Have a video, maybe. It doesn't even have to be your video, something for them to watch. Few steps of this is how we do it. People have their different ways, but this is kind of what's expected, and these are, the results. And there is very easy ways to make training and incorporate it into your business, especially in the onboarding process when you have a new employee, figuring out where their skills are and what you need to shore up with additional training. I don't know how many times, I'm sure this happened to you, where you hire a guy. Yeah, I've got tons of experience, tiling or framing or whatever. You throw them on the site and they're just making rookie mistakes, or their quality is much subpar, and you're wondering I wish I would have known that before they started. So there's ways to kind of go through and get, feedback from them, generally after they've started, to figure out, where are they at before you kind of throw them into something you think they're capable of. They mess it up, and now you got to do a bunch of rework, right? So nobody likes that, you or the employee. Last thing for a type of systems you want to have on the employee side of things is a morale system. So, especially nowadays, we've got a bit of a labor shortage. People don't want to work like they used to. A paycheck. Yeah, it's still a big motivation, but it's not the only thing, right? So there needs to be systems for morale of giving them a bit of praise when they do good, but also having them understand, again, part of the communication thing of what you expect of them, and also what things are important to them. For some guys, going out for beers and pizza is, enough. For others, they want some benefits because they've got a family or whatever. So having maybe some different options, or just different things in place to make sure that morale is high, because when your employees are happy at work, generally they're going to be happier at home as well, and you're going to get more out of them, more production. Clients are going to be happier as well, seeing people that actually generally want to be at work. So that's the first kind of area we're going to talk about systems, is the employee systems. The second one that's super critical to your survival is financial systems, right? And this is often a part of business management in construction that is neglected because most people just don't like to do it. Some people, maybe yourself included, don't really want to see the numbers because, hey, it might show some things that are glaringly obvious in black and white once you actually look at it, that, hey, the business is not profitable, or I do owe a ton of money to taxes or whatever. So financial systems, so critical to be planning and looking ahead. Cash flow, so many different things. First part of your financial system is job tracking, expenses and hours. So your employee hours. Generally, your bookkeeping software should have a time tracker, or you should have, it's fairly easy to set up some sort of time tracking and then link it to expenses for a specific job. So you got your labor expenses and your material expenses, cost of goods sold. You should know your overheads, all these kind of things, having a proper system in place. And it's not just a matter of maybe doing it yourself every now and then, or having a bookkeeper or accountant do it every so often. You need to have something very streamlined and efficient. Otherwise, it's just wasting your money and wasting your time. Again, if you've got specific questions, this is a little bit high level to give you an overview of business management. If you got specific questions about like which systems or how to do this or what should I do in this situation, drop it in the comments. I do read the comments. I will reply, and I can help you out with, more specific stuff if you're like unsure about, what I'm talking about. So next part of like financial system is your banking system. I like the Profit First system. It's a book by Mike Michalowicz. He kind of pioneered the systems. Essentially, like bare bones idea is you have multiple different bank accounts. If you got one or two bank accounts for your business, that's not enough. You should have multiple different bank accounts, and you should be allocating revenue to your different bank accounts depending on what it is for. So generally you got a bank account, all income goes in there, you get paid for this, get paid for that, everything goes into one account, and then you allocate a percentage to profits. So you know that you have some profits, you allocate a percentage to your living, expenses, your owner's draw, allocate a bunch to operating expenses. So paying your employees, ordering materials, this and that, and then generally taxes. So those are kind of like the big ones, so that come tax time, when you got to do your remittances, whether that's, monthly, quarterly, or your yearly, your personal income tax, whatever, you've got it set aside, boom, right? And your business is not operating effectively if you're stealing from bank accounts that aren't for what the bank account is for. And then you know that you need to adjust your allocations. So again, I'm not going to get bogged down in details, but that is a very key part of managing a business, and the one that I suggest for clients, and I would suggest you look at yourself. Final thing is invoicing and payments. So invoicing, super important to have a good invoicing system. Shows professionalism. Also, clients are going to be much more open to paying your invoices when they're on time, when things are detailed, they know what they're paying for. You've already communicated with them as far as like when you're going to take draws from the project, or how often you're going to invoice, or when the deposit gets used or given back to them, all that kind of stuff. And then systems for payments. If you got guys running to Home Depot or Rona or your supplier, your lumber yard, the kitchen bath place, and purchasing stuff on visas or putting on the expense accounts, right? You need some sort of tracking, otherwise money's going to go missing. You're going to have a nightmare trying to run bookkeeping properly. And that's the second area. Are you with me still? I know there's a lot to business management and a lot of systems that do need to go into place. The reason that systems are so important is without that foundation of systems, you can't scale a business. You can't scale your time, right? Once you've reached 60, 80 hours in a week, you're capped. It's not a way to run a business. You've got to get systems in place to bring your hours down. 40-hour work week for most business owners is like a pipe dream, but it is very attainable with putting proper systems in place, still being profitable, still running a business, still scaling and growing without running rapid. So important for, business management, get those systems in place. Number 3, so the third area we're going to look at, and critical part to have systems in a business that a lot of contractors anyways do not have a good grasp of, is client systems. So most people think like, I just provide customer service. I'm, try to keep them happy and explain kind of what's going on, and we go in, we do the job, they pay us, get a Google review, and we move on, right? Well, that's generally not overly effective and not a great way for the client to experience your company, and not a great way to build great rapport and differentiate yourself. So what do I mean by client systems? So expectations, having some sort of expectations document and communication right up front, like, hey, this is, what you can expect, invoicing, guys showing up on site, hours that we're going to be working, communication when things don't look like they should, how to do this, how to do that. So going through all those kind of things with the client, or at least having something in place so that they've seen it, and managing expectations is kind of what it's all about, right? The client's not going to get angry if you're giving them what they expect, even if the bar is not very high. So, and once you know those expectations too, you can blow past them, right? So that you are giving them an extremely enjoyable building experience, which is hard to come by. Second sort of client system is information. So how do you keep them informed? How do you have a system in place that they can get information about the project and timelines, schedules, budgets, photos, all that kind of stuff? Have some sort of system in place that's automated or nearly automated, so that you don't have to constantly be fielding calls and them asking you things like, where do I find this, or where are we at, or what's the schedule, or where's the budget at, and this and that. There should be some sort of system in place so that they're constantly either have access to information or being regularly fed information as far as what's going on, regular calls, just keeping them informed. That's really what pretty much one of the big things that all clients would love to have. And then last thing for client systems is communication. So how are you communicating with them? The first two are kind of like parts of communication, but having a system for communicating. Also, this is also another standard operating procedure. So training your staff of how to communicate with clients. So before we talked about employees, like how you communicate with employees and how they communicate with you, but how do your employees communicate with your clients? That needs to be in black and white. It needs to have some sort of process that is part of the training of employees as well, is like, hey, show up relatively clean. This is how, if client's asking you about this or that, you need to tell them, sorry, talk with the manager. I'm not really, I don't have all the information to give you, or whatever. However you want them to communicate with clients, make sure that you've expressed that to them and that they know how to do it, and you've provided some training for it, because client is going to see the people on site, much more than the manager or anybody else. They're there all day, whereas a manager or yourself, depending how you run your business, they're probably only touching base with you every so often. So that's the last kind of key point for client systems. I want to just make sure you understand these systems takes a lot of time to get into place. I understand that. That's why I have a coaching practice specifically helping clients with building these systems and providing templates and all those good things to help you with this and streamline it. Getting started though is going to be so important. No matter how difficult it is or how little time you think you have, it's a time booster. You spend 10, 20, 30 hours putting some of these systems in place. You're going to save that same amount of time in the next month after that, the month after that. So it's just, systems are so important. Can be hard to start or know what to do. Make sure you check out the description below. There is a free course exactly how to get started with systems. It's called How to Build a Business That Works Without You. So how to start systematizing your business, build the different functions out, and just start getting some standard practices in your business so you can save time, build profits, scale your business, and grow without all the ton of headaches and pain that comes along with running a contracting business. So here's the best to your business management. Keep knocking it out of the park, and I'll see you on the next video.